Hello, Salem, and hello to my friends and neighbors in Salem's Ward 1. I'm Chris Malstrom, a resident of the historic Derby Street neighborhood, a proud member of the LGBTQ+ community, a community activist and hospitality professional, and I'm running to represent you, the residents of Ward 1, as your next city councilor. My partner and I moved to Salem just over 10 years ago, and we absolutely fell in love with Salem for its deep historic ties, beautiful waterfront, incredible people, and that fun extra witchy quirk about it. And we consider ourselves incredibly fortunate to find a place on Essex Street that we could afford to call our own. With each passing year, I've grown to love this city, and this ward specifically, more and more. But we also have our fair share of challenges that present themselves every day, with an ongoing housing crisis and rising inflation that threatens our working and middle-class families, the very backbone of our city. We're also one of, if not the most coastal ward, and that leaves us particularly vulnerable to the threat of sea level rise and flooding from storm surge. Beyond these and other issues that the city is grappling with, there are a number of projects that are underway that will be transformational for our city. Some of the most significant among them, the offshore wind marshalling yard and Shetland Park redevelopment, will be occurring right here in the heart of Ward 1. Now, more than ever, it is imperative that we have a councilor who is willing to put in the commitment to maintain consistent engagement with all community stakeholders to ensure that all voices of our ward, especially those historically most marginalized, are heard and represented during this process. For the marshalling yard, an alliance of community stakeholders, the Salem Offshore Wind Alliance, is currently working on a community benefits agreement for the city to enter into with Crowley. And it'll be important for them to work on that to make sure that there's an equal give and take between all parties. It'll be essential, furthermore, for our ward councilor to continue supporting this group and their proposed benefits agreement, while also advocating for the citywide adoption of a community benefits ordinance to ensure that all similar projects will be guaranteed a reinvestment back into our communities. This type of work will be equally important for the Shetland Park redevelopment to make sure that no matter what the final outcome of that project is, it is designed with the interests of current Point neighborhood residents front and center. I'm running to be that ward councilor for you, Ward 1. As a private chef, I have the flexibility to engage full-time with needed constituent services and community engagement. And my years in hospitality have made me well-versed in talking to folks to get at the heart of what their problems are, and then working diligently to solve them. As I say at the doors, if you elect me and the next time I'm knocking on your doors in 2 years asking for a vote, then I've done something wrong. There are so many reasons now for us to have a ward councilor who is committed to that continuous on-the-ground engagement, and as your councilor, that is what I will commit exactly to doing. I want to ensure that we have a councilor who is in every neighborhood of our ward, connecting with every resident and making sure that all voices are represented at City Hall. When I served as the chair of Salem's Democratic City Committee, I kept the group organized and engaged throughout the duration of the pandemic, providing consistent content and leadership for monthly meetings, engaging new membership, and sending out regular newsletters to keep members up to date and informed. Last year, as the lead outreach coordinator for Phase 1 of Salem's Resilient Together the Point project, I took the lead on ensuring that Salem residents, particularly Point neighborhood residents, were aware of and given multiple opportunities to engage and give feedback with the project, relying mostly on on-the-ground legwork, connecting one-on-one with residents in the community. Now serving as the communications officer for the historic Derby Street Neighborhood Association, I work to make sure that my neighborhood is kept up to date on all news, meetings, and events that are going on both in our neighborhood and the city at large. And also as the vice chair of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, not only have I put in significant work increasing our engagement with Spanish and Portuguese-speaking community members, but I have also been a strong supporter of the board's role in maintaining an affordable rental market for our city's renters, advocating for the creation of a rental registry to better utilize data to create policy in the city going forward. I'm running to be our next city councilor because I love Ward 1. I honestly believe that we have the best ward, and it's my favorite place to be in Salem. And I want to channel that love and passion into being the best advocate for it that I can possibly be. I'm running to be the voice of all residents in the ward, not just the loudest online or the most well-funded individuals. And my leadership style has remained consistent over the years. Tell me what you need to thrive, and I will work tirelessly to get it. So if you want to learn more about me and my campaign, check out my website at www.voteforchris.org. That's vote, the number 4, chris.org. You can also add me on Facebook or find me on Instagram at Chris4Salem. I'm humbly asking for your vote on November 7th, and I truly believe that together we can create a Salem that's for everyone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ward 2 City Councilor Caroline Watson-Felt, and I'm excited to be running for re-election this year. It is a privilege to represent Ward 2 neighbors in City Council, and I'm humbly asking for your support on Tuesday, November 7th. I'm proud of the work we've completed in 2022 and 2023, and there is so much more still in process and to tackle in the coming years. These 2 years as Ward 2 City Councilor have given me the opportunity to not only deeply understand the issues that we're facing as a community and make progress on them, but to gain a personalized understanding on how these challenges and opportunities directly impact each of you, whether you're a resident of Ward 2, a business owner in Ward 2, or both. Salem is an incredible and unique, vibrant, diverse community, and we're facing some very real changes and challenges now and in the coming years. I've worked hard to make progress on many of these while representing the diverse perspectives of Ward 2 residents, and have worked closely with the city administration on Ward 2's biggest issues. But the work continues. I'm a very proud, lifelong Salem resident, a public school mom, nonprofit leader, and communications strategist who has been working or volunteering for the betterment of Salem for over 20 years. And I'm eager to continue to bring my personal and professional experience to City Council as a direct communicator and someone who builds relationships to help find productive solutions. Let's keep working together on moving Salem forward for everyone. You can learn more and reach me through my campaign website at carolineforsalem.com, on my Facebook, and on Instagram. Thank you for your consideration, Ward 2. See you at the polls on November 7th.
Hi there, my name's Joe Coltrera. I'm running for Ward 3 City Councilor. I'm a filmmaker, not a politician, so I'm not used to being on this side of the camera. But it wasn't political aspiration that pushed me to do this. It was exasperation at watching our representatives work for wealthy developers while raising taxes on its working residents, letting our streets, sidewalks, parks, and infrastructure crumble, turning thoroughfares into knots of confusion, ignoring environmental, historical, architectural, cultural, and quality of life concerns. Ward 3 is very much a working-class neighborhood. It runs from Margin Street up Jefferson, across Wilson, up Highland Avenue all the way to the Lynn Line. It's a mix of single-family homes, condo villages, and towers like Salem Heights. A lot of us in the ward share similar frustrations and a sense that our neighborhoods are being ignored. I want to change that. I want to be a representative of the people, not a mouthpiece for mayors, not as someone towing the line for any one political party, not someone using Salem as some sort of social experiment. I'm an independent creative thinker without political alliances or party loyalties. As a business owner, community organizer, I spent my career speaking truth to power. My documentary films have captured the stories of the unheard, misrepresented, abused, those pushed aside. I'm a listener and a storyteller, and I will bring your stories to Salem City Hall. I represent both old and new Salem. I'm a working class kid from the 60s who grew up in the house my Sicilian-American grandfather built on Prescott Street after the Great Salem Fire. My father Paul worked in local tanneries. My mother Josie worked in the Salem school system. I went to Salem schools. I went to St. James School for grammar school. I went to Bishop Fenwick High School. And I worked with my dad in the tanneries for a year after high school before I went to New York City to study film. Those were rough days in New York, 1977. It was a place that taught me a lot about survival. I lived in Queens, New York for 30 years and immersed me in a rich and wonderful tapestry of over 100 different cultures. In 1990, I started a film production company in New York, which served a range of clients like Human Rights Watch, Food Network, Discovery Channel, the Rolling Stones. I made my own documentaries about Peabody tanneries, the Salem witchcraft industry, and the frontline film about clergy abuse told through the lens of my own family. I returned to Salem in 2007 to live once again in my grandfather's house. While I appreciate the accepting place that Salem has become, I don't really appreciate the growing cultural and class divide, the sacrifice of true history to commerce, the prioritization of visitors over taxpayers. Since returning here, I've literally spent thousands of hours volunteering. Creating a neighborhood group or organization helped give weight to the issues facing my neighbors. Designing, running, and programming Salem Film Fest came with the responsibility of coordinating dozens of organizers, hundreds of volunteers, and creating a receptive atmosphere for visiting artists. I supported other cultural and historical groups, and am now leading the fight against overexpansion in my neighborhood. Our city is at a turning point. Out-of-scale developments threaten Salem's neighborhoods and its character. We need to push back against the tide of generic architecture that looks like everywhere else. We don't need to sacrifice what makes us unique for the temporary, the hideous, the too big. We are lucky to be here, and we should leave this place better than we found it. I was propelled into this adventure because of the proposal by Lifebridge North Shore and Harborlight Homes to demolish St. Mary's Italian Church, High Street Playground, and other properties, and build 3 5-story buildings. The homes in that area would have been dropped into the shadows of these ugly towers. The loss of St. Mary's would have been particularly painful. It was built by families from the neighborhood. I sat in February meetings where a handful of neighbors were presented with renditions of these plans. Representatives from Lifebridge and Harborlight, Councilors Watson Felt, and Councilor Morello were at those meetings. We had follow-up meetings with these 2 ward councilors. At the time, Ward 3 Councilor Morello supported the smaller park that was being proposed as a replacement for High Street Playground. She stated no objections to the height of the buildings, nor the bulldozing of St. Mary's. This development project requires new zoning. In a July 2 newsletter, Councilor Morello spoke about the 40R zoning, which Harborlight wanted to pursue. She stated that once the 40R district is approved by the City Council, not if it is approved, but once it was approved. It was evident that forces were lining up against us, so we went to work. I helped create and lead a neighborhood group called Our Neighborhood, Our History. Our efforts have been focused on finding an acceptable compromise on placement, height, and usage of the proposed structures. We also want a Lifebridge that has more robust programming for the people it serves, many who wind up in our neighborhood. We worry what a bigger Lifebridge will bring. We also want to save St. Mary's and what it represents, the history of neighborhoods like ours. When Councilor Morello was running unopposed, I felt the need to step up. Housing developments like this are forcing working-class people who have lived here for generations to make tough decisions. Do they stay and fight the forces that threaten their quality of life, or do they cash out? Many of these homeowners offer affordable units to renters, and if they sell at premium prices, new buyers will be forced to raise the price of rental units or turn them into condos. Salem already has become largely unaffordable for people who serve us in restaurants and shops, for musicians and artists who entertain us, and for people who do the work we don't want to do. I want to protect this city from the type of projects that don't fit Salem's character and that override environmental issues. We shouldn't be building in flood zones. We shouldn't be pushing projects ahead like Overlook Acres on Highland Avenue, where neighbors spotlighted the issues of traffic, wetland intrusion, and ultimately contamination. Our City Council and our Conservation Commission did their best to ignore these issues until the neighbors brought the evidence of contamination to the state level. A lot of our problems can be tied to the downtown economy, which has been built around a fantasized version of the tragedy of the 1692 witchcraft trials. That industry has us tied in knots, creating traffic, straining our public works and law enforcement, and even shrinking available housing. The hideous Hampton Inn building wouldn't be half as bad to stomach if we knew it was providing housing for residents rather than visitors. We are now seeing hundreds of rental units turned into Airbnbs. We are on the road to becoming like Venice, a city where residents have fled, and most apartments are now vacation rentals. Do we really want a city that caters to day trippers rather than people who put down roots and pour their hearts and souls into their community? I have no issue with a short Halloween season, but Salem has turned tragedy into comedy and murder into dollars. We are better than this. If we can't control the lengths that entrepreneurs can go, we can certainly find ways of controlling the overall image that we present. We have to emphasize our other histories and invest in a variety of arts and cultural offerings that take place beyond October. If it's true that haunted happenings is costing Salem more than it is making, then let's flip that script. For instance, we can't be giving away free parking and free shuttle services when private groups are charging $50 to park downtown. The million-plus people who visit here in the fall have given some of us an oversized sense of this place. Salem is actually a small city, and most of us live here not for the dancing in the streets, but for the quiet life in a friendly, beautiful, walkable place. If we can afford multi-million-dollar tax breaks for wealthy business owners, then let's share that generosity with working homeowners. Let's build truly affordable units where they fit current zoning, but also create incentives for homeowners to offer affordable apartments with stabilized rents. Let's get a handle on homelessness by bolstering mental health services and pushing surrounding communities to do their share of the burden. Let's bolster cultural and historical events in the off-season and find ways to compensate residents for what we put up with in October. Let's create term limits and encourage more people to vote by giving them reason to believe that the deck isn't forever stacked. Let's make our streets safe, but not confusing. Strengthen our infrastructure. Create more vibrant and diverse cultural scene. Reinvigorate our parks and playgrounds. Let's honor and tap into the experience of our seniors and veterans. Most importantly, let's make sure the voices of all residents, from all neighborhoods, from all backgrounds, are not only heard, but acted upon. I appreciate this opportunity to serve, and I appreciate your consideration on November 7th.
My name is Patty Morello, and I am running for re-election for Ward 3 City Councilor. I humbly ask for your vote on November 7th. For the past 4 years, I have been honored to represent Ward 3 on the City Council. I was proud to be unanimously elected as City Council President in my 3rd year, selected as Chair of the busy Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs Committee for 2 years, and selected as the liaison to the Planning Board, Board of Health, Tree Commission, Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, and Salem Human Rights Coalition. Through each of these opportunities, I have learned so much and put that knowledge to work to help update the Wetlands Ordinance, Flood Hazard Overlay, the new Climate Resiliency Overlay, Solar Ordinance, and more. I think of this ward as the backbone of Salem. Ward 3 goes from downtown to the Lynn Line. It includes Salem Hospital, our largest employer, Salem High School, Collins Middle School, and the Horace Mann Laboratory School. The ward is home to Salem Woods, our largest park area, and the municipal golf course. And of course, Ward 3 is home to Market Basket, Shaw's, and Target. Ward 3 is also about our neighborhoods. The old Italian neighborhood on Endicott, Summer, and Prescott Streets, which is a perfect combination of single-family, 2- and 3-family homes and small apartment buildings. The historic homes and cemetery on Broad Street. Castle Hill, which at one time was home to French-Canadian immigrants, sits at the feet of St. Anne's Church, whose bells continue to ring out in the neighborhood. The townhouses on First Street and Whalers Lane, a dense community in a bucolic setting, It's easy to forget that you're still in a city when walking around this neighborhood. The high-rise apartments at Salem Heights and Pequot Highlands providing much-needed affordability at different levels. And finally, the suburban-feeling southernmost neighborhood in the ward, Barnes, Clark, and Wyman Streets. Ward 3 is disjointed, divided by Salem Woods and the high-speed Route 107. I am a strong advocate for the Department of Transportation's redesign of this road. Critical to the redesign is the removal of the guardrail in the median, which provides a visual indication of high speed and a 35-mile-per-hour zone. Creating a safer, more neighborhood-friendly roadway will help to connect Southern and Northern Highland Avenue. It will also help connect the neighborhoods on each side of the road through safer, more inviting crosswalks. Although less than a mile apart, the walk from Whalers Lane to McGrath Park on Marlborough Road does not feel walkable or bikeable because of traffic speeds and unsafe conditions. I will continue to press for the state to finally design a safer roadway with the partnership of our state delegation, Senator Lovely and Representative Cruz. I'm proud of my professional working relationship with our state delegation. It is important to be able to email and call to get legislative updates affecting Salem, with calls for support for initiatives in the city, and to get immediate action on state property issues. I am grateful for the Senator and Representative's partnership and day-to-day support. I am often asked what I do as a ward councilor. My first priority is responding to constituent questions and concerns. I am proud of my record of quick response, and I try my hardest to find solutions to problems. Solutions aren't always easy or fast because nothing in government happens quickly. I continually advocate for repaving of roads and fixes for sidewalks. I advocate for safer crosswalks downtown and safer routes to school for our kids. We live in a very walkable city, but people don't feel safe because of lighting issues or cars moving too fast and crosswalks that aren't safe. I am relieved that Wilson Street at Jefferson Avenue will soon be seeing a new, fully functioning traffic light with safer crosswalks and better visibility at that intersection. I pushed hard for the city to speed up these safety improvements. Final design is in the works, and the mayor is working on the funding for the intersection upgrades, which amount to approximately $1 million. Working on traffic calming measures that make sense for the street is something that is one of the biggest requests in the ward. The speed cushions and new lines on Proctor Street have proven to be successful in slowing down the cars, which use this road as a cut-through between Highland Avenue and Boston Street. I am advocating for a budget item for permanent speed bumps on this road. And I have asked for a better approach to traffic calming with a commitment from the city to make temporary traffic calming measures permanent within a set time so that neighborhoods don't have to look at flex posts and paint for years and years. If the measures work, we need to have a plan to make them permanent. If you do not already subscribe to my newsletter, you can do so at pattyforsalem.com/subscribe. Each Sunday night, I send out updates on issues in the ward, city announcements, and upcoming meetings of boards and commissions, and events happening in Salem. It is a labor of love and a promise I made 4 years ago to keep constituents informed and engaged. Each week, I hear from residents who have further questions or who want to provide feedback or personal stories to help me with upcoming votes in the City Council. I am proud of the success of my newsletter, and I love to meet people who begin by saying that they look forward to reading it every week. Salem is a city that I love. It's filled with kind, creative, adventurous, talented, hardworking people who also love the city where they live. This is what I keep in mind when working on constituent issues or when voting in City Council. We all want the same thing: a vibrant, healthy city and neighborhoods that are safe. I humbly ask for your vote to be reelected as Ward 3 City Councilor on November 7th, and I promise to continue to work hard for you.
Good evening, Salem. My name is Ian McLoud, and I'm running for City Councilor for Ward 4. I have lived in the North Shore on and off for most of my life, and every time I've moved away, I've been drawn back to the city. As a college student attending Salem State, I spent a lot of my time downtown working for several museums, getting to know residents and tourists alike. This most recent move back, my partner and I chose Salem because of its history, its community, and the opportunities for all different kinds of people and families to make their homes here. As City Councilor, I will make sure you know what is happening. I will be holding monthly meetings and will keep active communication with Ward 4. I know there is a lot of concern about safety on our roads. We need solutions that address these issues while also protecting our property values. Our intersections should be safer. Our kids should be able to walk to and from school on well-lit sidewalks. I will work with our neighborhoods to petition the city to assess the situation and make plans for what works best for our neighbors. Salem is a city that is rich in culture and history. I want to create a stronger community that's inclusive and helps us become better neighbors and citizens. I know there's a lot happening in the world right now. Politics feels like a lot right now, and it's easy to think that your voice, your burdens, your hopes, and your values are not being met. There are major issues that affect us all: climate change, human rights, religious tolerance, unemployment, mental health, food insecurity, and homelessness are all part of our day-to-day lives. These are not things that I take lightly. I want to hear your stories. I want to hear your concerns. A lot of organizations have gone out of their way to make sure that you have resources that will help you get to know the candidates and where we stand on particular issues. The League of Women Voters, along with Salem State, North Shore Labor Council, Progressive Massachusetts Salem Chapter, and the Salem Evening News have all given us surveys. I encourage you to seek out these groups, get to know me and my opponent, and make an informed decision. I know we may not all agree on everything, but I do know this. I love our city, and I know you do too. My mother told me when I turned 18 that if I don't vote, I don't have a right to complain. We all need to get out and vote on Tuesday, November 7th. Together, we can make our ward stronger. We can help Salem become one of the most vibrant, inclusive, and thriving cities in the Commonwealth. We need to work together to make that happen. I am getting involved to make a difference. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Cohen. I'm the current Ward 5 City Councilor. And as my first term is coming to an end, the most important thing I want to convey is my gratitude to all the Ward 5 residents and businesses. It's such an honor to serve as your counselor. Whether a resident or a business, whether you voted for me or not, whether you agree with me about the Red Sox or important issues in the ward, know that at minimum, I'll listen to you, and I'll always attempt to help. In the spring, our engineering department asked all the ward councilors to submit a list of streets and sidewalks that needed to be addressed. I not only surveyed all the ones in the ward, but I had the help of a couple of people who like to walk, who helped me as well, and I submitted over 60 streets and sidewalks. We have a backlog, but I want everyone to know that as best we can, we'll get to those, and I want to make sure that you know that the Ward 5 streets and sidewalks are a priority. Resident parking is always an issue, and we have streets that want resident parking and don't want resident parking. Was able to work with the Traffic and Parking Department to get resident parking on Hazel Street, and we didn't just decide. We surveyed all the people who live on the street, we got their answers, and then we made a decision. And we're potentially going to do that with several other streets. And I want to make sure that everyone knows that if you've requested speed humps, that as soon as we can get you on the list and go through the process, we'll address them as the city deems viable. Every trash pickup day and any day that we have enough snow to require snow removal, I drive the ward. I want to make sure that I'm communicating when there's missed pickups or plowing hasn't happened or the treatment of the roads don't happen as they should, because the number one thing as a city is that we want to make sure that everyone is safe, and that includes accessibility. We want to make sure our sidewalks and streets are accessible to all who live and work here. I want to talk about a couple of things that we're working on now. One is the Willow Ave pipe. As many of you know, it is potentially the biggest environmental and health hazard in the city, and constantly working with Councilor Prosnewski and the city departments and even Seth Moulton's office and legislators to make sure we get the funding we need to not only keep that thing safe, make sure if something happens to the supports of the pipe itself that we have a plan, but that we have a plan going forward and we fund it so eventually it's taken down and moved underground. I helped write the urban agriculture ordinance as the primary writer of the green building ordinance for municipal buildings. I submitted home rule petitions for condo conversion and also for fossil fuel to enable us, if the legislature approves it, to write ordinances. We have a housing and an environmental crisis, and we can't do things incrementally, and we can do a lot of stuff locally. And you can count on me to make sure that it's always top of mind. One of the things that I'm most proud of is that working with Councilor Lev McLean, we wrote, with the help of a lot of people, city staff, a lot of affected people who represent marginalized groups, the Labor Council, a wage theft ordinance. Businesses that play by the rules are always at a disadvantage to those who don't. And so many people who are victimized don't know where they can go to get what recourse they have. And we are, on October 12th, we passed the strongest wage theft ordinance in the state. And so we want people to know that if you're a business that's not going to treat your employees, your workers, as they should, we don't want you here in Salem. I want to make sure that everyone knows that we need to be a more sustainable city. We do a lot of stuff about resiliency, and we want to be sustainable, and that will help us financially. That will help keep our taxes from going up. For example, we pay a lot of money to waste management to take away our trash and recycling, and it's by weight. So if we could develop a citywide, a composting program, that this is a city program, it would create jobs, it would create revenue, and potentially mean that we pay waste management a lot less. I'm working with Andy Varela on that initiative. If you live or work in Ward 5, I want you to know that I'm always willing to meet. We could meet in my garden at your place. We could meet at the Coffee Superhighway or talk on the phone. I'm always available. 978-587-1443 is my cell phone, and my email is jcohen@salem.com. Once again, I'm so grateful to be able to serve you, everyone in my ward, whether you work or live in Ward 5. I look at as a friend, and there's so much that we can do together. Thank you so much for considering me in this election.
Hello, Salem. My name is Megan Stott, and I'm running for re-election for Ward 6 City Council. Thank you for taking the time to watch this today and listen to the candidates. And thank you to SATV for coordinating this and for being such a great partner in bringing our meetings to you virtually. As your current Ward 6 councilor, I have been working hard to bring neighbors together and unite Ward 6. And I am running again in hopes of continuing this momentum. My daughter Stella and I live in North Salem, and she attends the Salem Public Schools. And I have a day job that has me working in technology in the financial services field. So I understand the desire for representation that listens, but also takes action when needed. My top priorities as your ward council are those that affect us most directly: neighborhood and constituent services and creating transparency and access in municipal government. My daughter and I walk and drive and bike all around Salem. Pedestrian safety and local public transportation needs improving, and we need the voices of all to help improve this. And there also are the issues that, while you may not be directly impacted, our friends and neighbors are, and we need to enact solutions quickly. I believe housing, mobility, and environment all go hand in hand, and improve services for our unhoused neighbors while working to increase overall affordability and availability with our housing stock impacts us all. You may be watching this from the comfort of a warm home or not, but the right to do so, everyone deserves. And that is what needs to be protected and fought for. These big issues do not have one magic solution answer, though. I believe the saying is there are many tools in the toolkit, but they all need to be brought to the table, from passing an inclusionary zoning ordinance to reviewing parking requirement minimums. All considerations must be on the table, and we need solutions, and we need them now. Alongside that, climate resiliency and sustainability across the city are a priority. I support the offshore wind development in Salem, which will provide good paying green jobs in the clean energy industry. My term on council has been both humbling and invigorating. While I understand we will never all be in complete agreement, the ability to have respectful discourse and truly listen is what matters. You can learn more about my campaign and my history on council on Facebook or Twitter, which I think is called X now, actually, or you can visit my website, meg4ward6.com. That's the number 4 and the number 6. Or call or text me anytime at 781-486-3525. I love Salem, and I know you do too. So let's work together to make this the best possible Salem, not just for our generation, but for the many generations that follows. So I'm respectfully asking for your vote, because every vote counts, this November 7th. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andy Varela, and I'm your Ward 7 City Councilor. And I'm really honored to serve you and to continue to serve you. Whether you voted for me or not, I am here to help you and listen to all of your concerns. 2 years ago, I decided to run for City Council because I saw the need for a more transparent representation with our city government. I truly believe our government officials should be approachable, and also it can be sometimes confusing to navigate getting answers to your concerns on a city level. I would like to continue to serve the residents of Ward 7 and to make sure our community has someone they can talk to about their concerns. The most important thing to me in the city, which we have completed or still working on here in council, are environmental issues such as styrofoam. We eliminated styrofoam this year from our business. This is very important because eliminating something that is not necessarily recyclable in our current waste stream does help mitigate environmental issues. And I'm proud that we are one of 60 communities in Massachusetts to do so. Also, the discussion of a composting program and a composting ordinance that I authored this year that I've been working on closely with Councilor Jeff Cohen. This will give us the opportunity to mitigate our ever-increasing taxes, as well as to create jobs to help take the burden off of our contracted services. The reason that this is important is because our trash contract is up next year with Waste Management. We are seeing probably a 60% increase in contracted services concerning our waste. This is concerning because we're talking millions of extra dollars. What composting effectively can do is take out the heaviest substance that is in our current waste stream and make something renewable out of it, and also monetize it and create a composting program where we can actually sell compost back to other organizations, municipalities, as well as use it for our own situation. The other environmental issue I'd like to talk about, which is very exciting to us, is the Urban Agriculture Ordinance that was passed about 2 years ago. This effectively helps our residents to grow their own food and have protections while doing it. We feel that this is important because you should be able to do things that are reasonable on your property, whether it be grow food, have chickens, have livestock. It's something that creates resiliency within each home, which is something we really need to focus on. The other issue we're talking about right now is basically the issue when it comes to voting in our elections. Currently in our Government Service Committee, which I proposed, is our adoption of ranked choice voting here in Salem. This gives us the opportunity to eliminate our preliminary election, which equates to cost savings to the taxpayers. And let's be honest, voter engagement is not that great here in Salem. Our current voting system can be complicated and can promote inappropriate tactics to confuse voters. We as a community need to get creative on how to engage more voters so we have better representation and voter turnout. Concerning housing, here in Ward 7, we have something really large. We have the redevelopment of the Salem State South Campus, which was previously sold by Salem State. We have been anticipating over the last couple of years. My goal is to make sure residents are heard concerning the redevelopment of this site. What we really need to do is make sure that the working group that was engaged before the sale to DCAM of the property, that those are met and that they really take those in consideration. So my goal is to put pressure on Wind Development and Avalon to make sure that they stick to what the Sasaki study came out with, to make sure it does not impact the neighborhood in a negative way. By day, I own and operate Maitland Mountain Farm with my wife, Holly Maitland, where we specialize in nursery production, crop production, as well as pickles. I also have 3 kids, 2 in the school system, Jet 12 and Phoenix 5, as well as our youngest, Keanu, who is 2. We look forward to continuing to support our Salem Public School system. It really takes a village, but we have the confidence that our kids are going to thrive in this environment. I'm also the chair of the Massachusetts Food Policy Council Advisory Committee for the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, where we as a body make recommendations to our legislature concerning the food system here in Massachusetts and the future of it. Our mission is to make sure our community is a place where all residents have access to healthy food options and land access. Hence why we love what we do here in Salem. I continue to look forward to providing for my community and look forward to your vote on November 7th. Thank you.